I wanted to talk about coercive control in the context of Japan for me, because that's where it happened for me. But coercive control can happen anywhere. Sorry, I touched my screen because there was a little bit of paint on my screen because I paint, and as I did that, it flipped the camera around. Coercive control is one of the I don't know if it's a method, but it's one of the ways that people assert control over their victims in a cult, or it could happen in an abusive relationship, as in boyfriend girlfriend, or it could happen in a work relationship. In my case, it happened at work in Japan. For 5 years, I worked for a woman who psychologically abused me and others, and even sexually abused some of my coworkers. Thankfully, I was not a target for the sexual abuse because I'm gay. I actually was very lucky in that case because most of the heterosexual men, and my ex-boss only hired men, basically, except from time to time a woman, only so she could get more male students, though. That was how she saw the world. Anyways, thankfully, she didn't try to sexually do anything with me. But what I wanted to talk about is the circles of control getting tighter and tighter. Put yourself in this situation. If you are in a foreign country where your right to stay in that country depends on a work visa, a work permit, the person who controls your work permit controls a lot of your life. Now, first, they offer you a job, so they control your schedule. They know where you are when you are. They know where you are. They know what you're doing whenever, except maybe on the weekend at first. But one of the things about Japan and other countries is that if you're a foreigner, it's very hard to find housing. So after they get control of your schedule, well, after my boss got control of my schedule, and first I was working for her for 4 days a week, and then it was five. So she knew where I was from Tuesday to Saturday at all times. She ended up offering, I thought very kindly at the time, to rent my apartment for me. Instead of me trying to look for apartments, which was difficult as a foreigner, she kindly offered, her words, to rent my apartment. So then she knew where I was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, basically. And she certainly did avail herself of the... Yeah, she definitely visited. Not all the time, but it was always uninvited or uncalled. I mean, just kind of showing up. And then I started to push back. Now, again, I got out of this situation. I was able to, I'm here, right? But the circle started becoming more and more narrow. So first it was my schedule. Now, obviously, your boss controls your schedule in every country to a certain extent. But I had to have this job in order to stay in Japan because I needed the work visa. And she did this with all of us. Then she would rent our apartments. So then there's more control because if we quit, we have to leave the apartment, right? So that was tighter. Then she started recommending doctors. That's when, for me, a light kind of went off, but not immediately because I didn't realize, and I guess I should have realized, the doctors she recommended were reporting back to her exactly what was wrong with me, so to speak. And also, it was going both ways. So not only were they telling her, if I went in, like, let's say, with a stomach ache, she'd be like, "Oh, you have a stomach ache? Oh, let me call my friend. He's a doctor. You don't have to wait in line. I'll get you right up to the front. You can get your medicine, then you can come back to work." Because the main thing is she wanted us to work constantly all the time. I'm not exactly sure why she needed that much control over me and her other her harem of teachers, because again, we were all men and we all had to be young and good looking, and I was sort of past the expiry date anyways, but I was a good teacher, so she kept me around a lot longer than most of the others. Most of the guys at my company probably lasted 3 to 6 months, maybe a year. I was there for 5 years. So then the doctors. Not only would I go to the doctors and I didn't know this at the beginning, but they would report back to her. So complete violation of patient-doctor like confidentiality, right? But it went the other way. She would tell them what was wrong with me. And this was at first an internalist, so because I do have a lot of problems with my stomach, but then she wanted me to switch. This is really when I was like the switch really flipped when she wanted me not to go to my normal psychiatrist. She wanted me to go to her psychiatrist. Or she didn't go to the psychiatrist, although the psychiatrist she chose. She was like, oh, I found a better one, and you can get bigger doses. And I was like, I'm trying to get off of benzodiazepines here. But no, she wanted me on more of it. And the more I look back on it, the more I realize, like, she knew, I mean, obviously, she's my boss. She knows where I work. And she was co-signing, the apartment. And she knew the real estate agents. So, like, I wouldn't have been able to leave this job without losing a place where I lived. She also controlled the visa, right? The work visa. And then she started controlling which doctors I saw. But thankfully, I didn't let it go through. I went to her psychiatrist one time exactly. He actually was suspicious of her. So I guess he hadn't been completely pulled in. And he told me, well, why would you switch to me when you've been going to the same psychiatrist for like 10 years now in Japan? And I said, oh, because my boss recommended you. And he said, yeah, but you just told me you were having issues with your boss. I mean, this is 8 years ago, so I'm paraphrasing. But he wasn't completely one of her minions, so I was able to see that this was really strange. Then this is around November 2017, so I was already in the process of starting to think that I was going to quit this job, which thankfully I did. It saved my life. When I finally... The last straw, and I've spoken about this before, was when our pay was reduced after having worked. So pay reductions happen sometimes. They shouldn't happen. But after having worked the whole month of November 2017, the paycheck, which wasn't a paycheck ever, it was always cash, we got less cash at the end of the month because she decided to reduce our pay from 3,000 yen per hour to 2,700 yen per hour, ex post facto, like after we were working. One of my coworkers quit, and this is when it kind of all started to crumble for everybody. After this coworker quit, there was extra pressure on me because I was the only one left who was kind of playing her game because I really had no way to escape at this point. I ended up going to Korea. I've said this before, so I'm sorry if this is a repeat, but I ended up going to Korea on vacation. It was already planned, but she actually withheld that paycheck. So not only was paycheck, the cash. Not only was I not paid as much as I was supposed to be paid before going on vacation, but she said, I'll pay you when you come back. So this is kind of like, to me, I was just completely devastated. And at this point, I was such a nervous, anxiety-ridden, bulimic wreck that I was not eating. And when I was eating, I was throwing up. Not because I wanted to lose weight, but because I just had horrible anxiety. But in Korea, thankfully, my friends told me, like, they put a mirror up in front of what was happening about, like, how not only was she my boss, she was co-signing the apartment, and she was recommending doctors to me, and the circles were getting tighter and tighter. So finally, when I was in Korea, I just had a big kind of awakening, and I was like, yeah, this is not what I want. It still took me another 2 months to confront her, which I did during Christmas break. And at that point, she refused to pay me my money that she owed me for the month of December until I came back. Again, it should have been a simple envelope full of cash, as was my paycheck every month with her. But it wasn't. She said she would pay me back upon my return. So I was left again unpaid, completely scared. I was crying my eyes out. I called the Japanese government. I thought maybe someone will help me. I called the National Labor Protection Bureau, which has no power. They were able to advise me to get a lawyer, which I couldn't afford, and to get out of Japan before my visa ran out, which is duh. But that's literally all they could do. So this is January 4th, 2018. Come back to work on the 7th. I send my letter of resignation. I wanted to do everything correctly. I don't know why. I should have just left. And I thought, let me hold on for 3 more months while she found someone else. Long story short, because it never happened as smoothly as I wish it had, but she never found anybody else. so she asked me to stay for until May, which is much more than 3 months, until May 31st. So that was 5 months. This is like in March when I was supposed to be gone already. And I've told this story before, and I don't really want to get into it because it's really not fun. But when she did finally find someone, even though I had signed a 2-month extension contract, although these were the only contracts I ever signed with her because I never had a job contract with her. I made up contracts on my phone, on my computer. I printed them out. She signed them. Her daughter signed them. The contract was literally ripped to shreds in front of me when she found someone else. And basically with what are you going to do? She had her daughter, her lawyer. These were like scary people. On a Saturday night. I have the emails that I sent to people about this, but so I was fired then and there, replaced, not allowed to really get my stuff from work, although I did come in when I picked up my last wad of cash, which she did pay me, minus the rent she had promised to pay, minus the bonus she had promised to pay, after having sent 3 guys to my house to threaten me. Anyways, but I started out making this video wanting to talk about the coercive control circles and how they keep expanding or contracting around you. So if a boss starts wanting to rent your house, and especially if they start to control your health care, get out of there. You'll figure it out after. Just get out first, and then you'll feel better. I ended up moving out of the apartment in which I was living, that she had co-signed the lease to, not only because I had to, because she wanted me out, and putting the new teacher in, but also because I was scared. I was physically scared. She sent 3 guys. I have pictures. I've uploaded them before, but to my house to threaten me. So I ended up moving into 2 different friends' houses and going back and forth between the 2 because I was shaking. Shaking is not even the thing. I was like throwing up. And I ended up going back and forth between one house in Chiba and one house in West Tokyo, just so I knew she didn't know where I was. And when I finally left Japan May 23rd, 2018, so almost 8 years ago now, when the plane finally left the ground, actually no, I have to say I was still worried until the plane left Japanese airspace. Because it's probably completely ridiculous to be worried about that, but I was still worried literally until the plane left Japanese airspace. When we were finally over Russia, believe it or not, I felt, okay, maybe now I can start to look back and find out what happened. But anyways, this video has been about the coercive control circles that keep expanding or contracting, however you want to say it, around you. Be careful. Obviously, when you have a job, your boss controls your schedule. But how much are they controlling your schedule? Do they know where you live? Are they the one providing you with a work visa? Are they the one providing you with where you like literally co-signing for your apartment? And then do they start to control other aspects of your life, including your health, and getting doctors that violate patient confidentiality to talk to them and back and forth? I have many more stories, but this is just one of the long ones.